Hello everyone, welcome to today's topic that is on population. We will understand in this module what is population, how do we define population, what are the different characteristics of population and how it is important for any country's development and growth. Let us quickly check in. So what are the topics that we are going to cover? Firstly, we will be looking at understanding what is population. So in that area, we are going to define population. Then we will see how is population distributed. The population distribution, the growth of the population, changing of population due to various reasons. Then we will look at population composition. And finally, we will also learn what are the population policies that are in place in India. Let us look in with the learning objectives. By the end of this session, the learners will be able to explain population concepts and distribution patterns. They should be able to define population, what are the various factors that affect population, what are the role of the socio-environmental economic aspects on the population. Then we will look at second learning objective, that is analyze population growth trends in India. How is the population growth trend in India over the past 100 years as per the census, as per the official data? Now, what and how to interpret the data? We will analyze and we will also see the impact on development. Now, let's move on. First, why should we learn about people, the population? People are both the creators and the consumers of all earthly resources. They create or they co-create, but they also consume most of the resources. Human presence is an essential catalyst for the economic and social development. If humans are not there, it is practically impossible for us to imagine how this world would have existed. And the natural events that occur regularly, which can be called as disasters only when they intersect with the human settlements, when they affect the human settlements and create some amount of disturbance for the human settlements that are present in that region, that's when we call it as a resource. And the environment lacks the meaning and the culture without the lens of human existence. If there is environment but there is no population, then the entire meaning collapses. So the ultimate global resource is the people. That makes us very, very curious to learn about people and population. Let's get in there. The pivotal social elements, the central reference, the fundamental point for observing all social elements is happening around the people. If you look at the resources and the disasters as we saw, they have only meaning when they are in relation with population or people. The numbers, the growth, the distribution provide the essential feedback and the background for that backing up. And the primary driver of all geographic and economic process is the population. So it is very, very crucial to understand the importance of population and population dynamics. If you look at the resources, who are the primary producers and consumers? It is the human beings who are the primary producers and consumers of all Earth's resources. Now, if you look at the demographics, vital to track the number, the location, and the spatial distribution of people nationwide. And if you look at the growth patterns, essential for understanding population and the growing trends, the socio-economic characteristics. The census. Now, the Census of India provides a comprehensive data foundation for all population information. What is census? We said it provides the foundation for data, right? So defining the census, the official count, an official periodic count of the entire population with a specific period of timeline is known as census. When was it done first time in India? It was done for the first time in India in 1872. In 1881, the first complete and comprehensive census has been taken, and with regular intervals of every 10 years since 1881, it has been started. So that is census, where we take the count of the entire population across the land, especially the Indian land boundary, and we revise the numbers and give the proper data-driven insights. So if you look at India's demographic setup, we can see very clearly the entire total population as per 2011 census is 1210.6 million. Yes. And we share a percentage on the global population is up to 17.5%. Most population state or the most populous state is Uttar Pradesh, as you can see behind me, the state within the blue shade, which is the most populous state with 199 million people. Now, if you look at the total land area of India is 3.28 million square kilometers. So, the larger in the region, the state with highest population, the total percentage of the global population, what we have seen. Now, how is the population density in India? Now, if you look at the concept of density, what is density? We said population density. Population density gives us a clear picture of uneven distribution. Okay, if it gives you a picture of uneven distribution, so what is it all about? It is the number of persons per unit area. In simple terms, we can say that it is the number of people living in 1 square kilometer area. So India is among the most densely populated countries globally. So if you take as per the 2011 census, the population density of India is 382 per square kilometer. And which state has the highest density and which states have the lowest density? In our country, it is Bihar which has the highest density, while Arunachal Pradesh being the lowest density. So we learned the number of people living in a specified area or a unit land area which is considered for study is called density of the population or population density. For example, we have taken India for 1 square kilometer. How many people live? India falls under the category of highly densely populated country with around 382 people per square kilometer as per 2011 census. So let us look at the land share and the percentage share. If you see, as we already know, the land share is 2.4% and the population share is 17.5%. With only this much of land we are having this much percentage of share in the population. And see the distribution of the population. The state Uttar Pradesh with the largest, followed by Maharashtra, Bihar, West Bengal, Andhra Pradesh, and then we have the rest of the states. And coming to the lowest states, we have Uttarakhand, and then 7 sister states. In the northeast, we have the low population regions. If you look at the density of population census, you can see the regions which are densely populated. One is Uttar Pradesh, the other one is in the orange shade, and we also have people around over 1,000, that is in Bihar and also in West Bengal, where highest density is being recorded. At the same time, we also have green shades showing us 250 or less than, below 250 in these regions. You can see the dark green shade where it shows the lowest density regions. Now, states with sparse population, density by state, when we take unfavorable conditions, what are the reasons for the states to have less population or less density in population? One, because the rugged terrain, the terrain which is there, the land type, and also the climatic condition, harsh climatic condition, cold climatic conditions. So the extremities of the climatic conditions, if they exist there, that causes a problem for people to be there. Examples like Assam and the peninsular states have moderate densities because in Assam we have regular floods, natural calamities. Similarly, in the peninsular states also we have regular cyclones coming and hitting it. The northern plains and Kerala have very high density states because of flat plains, fertile soils leading to very high density. So there are the geographical factors which play an important role for a place to have dense population living there. The availability of water, land, the type of the land, the climatic condition of the area, all these play an important role. Now, measuring the population dynamics. First, we look at how to measure or what is the measurable criteria. Then we look at what are the methods that we have and is it increased or is it decreased. That aspect we are going to see. Growth is defined as the change in the number of inhabitants, a number of people living in a specific territory over a defined period of time. When they are living from a particular period of time to the present, then we call them as the number of people inhabiting a particular place. There, if the number has gone up, there a number has changed. Let's need not be always gone up or less. It can be either up or down. The change in the numbers gives us a clarity that the people in that territory are there, are they growing, are they declining? That gives us the details. Now, how do we check these numbers? One, there is an absolute number method where the magnitude of the annual increase has been taken. After that, we rate the growth percentage per annum. So you take the percentage. So absolute number and the percentage. These are the two methods of knowing what and how much is the increase. Then we have an absolute increase, previous year, the later year minus the previous year's percentages if we take. Let me give you an example. Let us say in 2011, the population was 120 crores. In 2012, if the percentage is, if the calculation is around 132 crores, then roughly we can say more than 10% the population has increased. So calculated by subtracting the earlier population from the later population gives us the increase. If the population has increased, that is an absolute increase. If it has decreased, then it is a negative trend. The population is going downwards. Now, let us see how do we understand the annual growth rate of the population. First, the pace of the growth. The rate of population increase at what pace it is going, at what speed is it growing. So annually how much is expanding. Then we look at the measurement. We study the percentage per annum, and 2% rate means an addition of 2 people for every 100. So that is a 2% average growth rate. Then we see the India's total big number. Significant growth recorded in India's total population from 361 million to 1210 million over a period of time from 1951 to 2011. So first we see what pace it is going, what speed it is growing. Secondly, we look at the measurement. So in the percentages, how much percentage is growing. And thirdly, we will be looking at the overall big picture of how that is shown in the entire country's population. Now, India's big numbers. India is the largest population, yields as a significant absolute increase. India's largest population, why we are saying India has the largest population? Because of the factors like a very low annual rate on a billion people adds to a large total number. Even if there is a low annual rate, let us say even if it is 2%, out of 100 crore people, if it is say 2%, still it increases 2 crore people, which can be probably the size of population for a country in a neighborhood. Then large annual population increase neutralizes the resource conservation efforts. When there is a large increase of population, the efforts that are made to safeguard the resources will become limited. And declining growth rate indicates positive impact of birth control effects. Now we can see there is a steady decline in the growth rate rapidly when compared to the previous decades or the past decades. So one factor as a positive sign we can see is why this is happening. It is happening because the impact of positive impact of birth control effects. Now the total additions to the population base has grown significantly over 1210 millions population, which is still big number to be considered in the global aspect if you look at and the resources point of view also. Now, what is the process of population change? How does the population change? One is because of the birth rate, the population changes. Second is because of the death rate. And third factor is because of the migration. First, birth rate, when we say the live births per 1,000 persons in a single year is the primary driver of natural increase. Number of people born for every 1,000 population is considered as a birth rate. Number of deaths per 1,000 is naturally a declining rate. And the migration factor, the third important factor, where people are migrating from one place to another place in search of jobs, for better opportunities, education purpose, medical purpose, or some other factors, they are migrating. So that is also one reason why people are moved from one place to another place. Now, natural increase formula is equal to birth rate minus death rate. If the birth rate is greater than the death rate, naturally we can say that the population has increased. If the birth rates are 10 and the death rates are 5, so 5 is actually the birth rate because 10 people are born, 5 people died. So 10 minus 5, 5 is going to add up to the population. Like that we take the factors, and the process of population change happens in three ways. One is birth rate, death rate, and migration. What are the change drivers? One is the natural growth. due to the high birth rates and declining death rates. High birth rate and the death rates, if the deaths are not very high and they are declining down, so number of population is going to grow. Overall growth has gradually declined since 1981. Before that, it was very high. And as we know, there is a third important driver which drives the population dynamics. That is the internal migration, reshaping the distribution, reshaping the composition, and reshaping the density of the population. People migrating in search of opportunities, in search of better living conditions, also brings a change in the human geography. The dynamics of the human geography keeps changing because of these factors. Now, what is the India's policy towards population? India's adolescent population policy is India's adolescent population means the teenagers population, where the adolescents are aged from 10 to 19 years. They comprise around 1/5 of India's population, representing India as the most critical resources for us. Coming to the nutritional challenge, higher requirements than adults. These people require higher requirement of food grains, supplements, diets, because they often lead to deficiency and stunted growth, means limited growth. And to empower the adolescent girls, the persistent anemia remains as a concern, and literacy is the key lever is improving to the health outcomes. So this is India's adolescent population. Now, what is National Population Policy 2000 saying us about? The National Population Policy is talking about planned parenthood, universal education, and infant health goals. Three major elements. One, promoting responsible and voluntary family planning since 1952. And the NPP proposes 2000 mandates free school education for children up to 14 years of age to attain universal education so that people are aware, and aims to reduce the infant mortality rise below 30 per 1000 live births. We are trying to also reduce the birth rates so that naturally we can control the population growth. So today we discussed about what is population. The number of people living in an area is considered as population. What are the driving factors? How does the population dynamics change? Whether it increased, decreased, areas with high population, areas with low population, why some areas have high population, why some areas are having low density, low population, or number of people living is less. And also we discussed about the adolescent population, the push factor, the pull factor, urbanization, pulling them towards the urban areas due to better facilities, better things. In straight, we can see the migration policy. Along with births and deaths, migration also plays an important role. And we also discussed about the National Population Policy 2000, which covers the framework of how can we reduce the populations in a healthy way by educating people and also making parents being more responsible and voluntarily coming up with the family planning process. This started seriously from 1952 it started, but the efforts were made once again to enforce in the minds of the people after the year 2000 to ensure all children below the age of 14 will get compulsory education so that they are aware of what are the issues that are happening with the population around the country and across the globe. Hope this has given us a clear idea about the population, what is population density, what is the reasons for higher population and lower population, which states have higher population, which states have higher density, and we also learned about the national population policy. That's all for this module. Thank you.